There are many exercises arm wrestlers do that can be performed by every single one of you, whether you are a bodybuilder, powerlifter, or if you practice any other strength sport. My name is Fazekas Alex, founder and head coach of Arm Wrestling University, and in this video I'll show you some of the exercises arm wrestlers use that can be done by every single one of you. I will also share some important tips for each exercise so you will get faster results from your training. Let's get straight into it, and the first one is wrist curls with the end of the barbell. Everybody knows the classic dumbbell wrist curls, but the problem with that exercise is that it requires some experience to be able to execute it effectively. This is of course valid if you train with a decent weight. If you train with 10 pounds, there is not much you can do wrong. I had this problem when I first started coaching. Some guys were telling me, Alex, this exercise feels awkward. No pain or anything, but it doesn't feel right. And that's true. If you want to train that exercise effectively, there are some important things you will have to look after. After we fixed what was wrong, they started to like the exercise. Of course, because it is a great exercise. So if you want an easier alternative that is much easier to perform, you can do wrist curls with the end of a barbell. All you have to do is to fix the barbell on one end and to do your regular wrist curls with the other end. Because the bar is fixed, you don't have to focus on stabilizing the weight like you have to do with dumbbell wrist curls. You can also progressively overload the exercise, which is another important factor for growth. But, and this but is very important, if you are one of the lighter guys and the bar is too thick for your hands, don't do this exercise. Otherwise, sooner or later, you will injure yourself. Let's continue with wrist curls at the pulley. As arm wrestlers, we do this exercise on the arm wrestling table, but you can do it at the gym pulley as well. The pump you'll experience from this one is crazy. Very hard to compare to anything else, if you do it in the right way, of course. All you need is a regular rolling handle that you find in your gym. I would recommend you to take the metal one because you want the handle to be solid. What I would also recommend you to do is to put a fat grip on the handle, because for most of you, that handle is not thick enough for your hands. If you don't have a fat grip, take a piece of an old towel and wrap it around the handle a few times and you will have the exact same effect. After you have the handle figured out, adjust the pulley to a high position and start doing your regular wrist curls. Make sure you do the reps slow and controlled because you want to be as effective as possible with the exercise. Most likely you will not work with heavy weights, so you won't need to do this. But if necessary, you can even help stabilize yourself with your free arm just by holding the working arm in place. Exercise number 3 is probably one that you have never done before, and that is gripper sword, but the way arm wrestlers do it. The traditional way to close the grippers is to bend your wrist back in order to produce more force and then to close the gripper from here. But for us arm wrestlers, this is a terrible way to train grippers because we never want to bend the wrist back, no matter what exercise we do. So the way we perform this exercise is keeping the wrist straight and then closing the gripper from here. Of course, when you do it like this, you will not be able to close the hard grippers. You will have to work with the light grippers, but the pump you will get from this exercise is unique. If you have one of these light grippers, I would encourage you to try this exercise out. Another effective exercise is wrist curls from the side. You can do this one at any commercial gym and it is pretty easy to perform. You will need the handle that we talked about a moment ago. If possible, again, use a fat grip, but for this one it is not mandatory. You can even take just a regular handle and perform the exercise with it. Place the bench in front of the pulley and adjust it vertically. After that, adjust the pulley like shown in the video, so when you start doing the reps, the body is in a natural position. I like to use a chain as an extension because I work with over 100 pounds in this exercise. But most probably you don't need to do that. Just ask someone in your gym to help you pull the weight or use anything you can as an extension. As an arm wrestler, when I do this exercise, I lower the weight only until my wrist is straight and then curl it back up. But because you'll most probably do this exercise for forearm growth, you can even go into the extension of the forearm. I know that it is a little bit complicated to set up, but believe me, if you do it right, the pump you will get is worth it. Now let me give you an exercise that requires a special tool, but it is so effective. It's like taking all the exercises we already covered and putting them on steroids. And that is wrist range curls at the pulley. I run a giveaway right now where you have the chance to win the wrist range. so stick around until the end. Or if you need any other training equipment to grow your forearms, you will get 10% off on any purchase you make at goldengrip.com. The link is down below. It is extremely easy to perform this exercise. Just attach the handle to the pulley, roll the wrist wrench up and perform your regular wrist curls. For those of you who do not know how the wrist wrench works, the wrist wrench will attack your wrist and fingers simultaneously, more aggressively than any other handle. And because of that, it is a great handle to build strength and size in the forearms. As an arm wrestler, you can even attach the wrist wrench only from the top of the handle, which will force you to cup more with your index and middle finger. This is very useful in arm wrestling for techniques like the top roll, where you have to cup with your wrist very high. On the other side, you can also attach the wrist wrench from the bottom of the handle, which will force you to cup more with your pinky and ring finger. This is very useful for hookers because they usually have to cup their wrist very low. If your only goal is to build bigger forearms, you will not need any of this. Just use the wrist wrench in its original setup. Now we are getting deeper down the iceberg, and the next exercise is pronation with the forearm fixed. This one is probably the most advanced exercise from all of these. But if you perform it the way I will show you, you can get really good results from it. You will need a surface where you can fix your forearm on. For example, a normal gym bench. You will also need any kind of belt that you find in your gym. It can be a judo belt, a piece of an old towel, or anything similar. Funny story, before I started to train in the gym, I used to do such exercises with an old blind pull cord. So believe me when I tell you, you can find any sort of belt to train. Attach some weight to the belt and you're ready to go. Pick the weight up, open your pronation up completely, and then pronate your hand through. It's extremely important to do the reps clean and controlled. And you have to make sure you focus entirely on the rotation of your hand. Don't lift your forearm up. Your forearm should stay fixed and only your hand should rotate. You may ask yourself, why should I do this one? Pronation is basically the ability to rotate your hand this way, and the pronation muscle is not really visible, but it will help you to be more stable in the forearm when you do other exercises. Think of it like the grip factor when you deadlift. And the last one is exactly the opposite of pronation, which is supination. Supination is rotating the hand, but exactly in the opposite direction. This again is a good exercise to be more stable and to be able to control forearm exercises better. I like to do this one with resistance bands. But if you want to, you can even do it at the pulley. It works fine as well. It is important to mention that I wouldn't recommend you to do these last two exercises as main exercises. But as accessories, they are great and everybody can do them. These are some of the exercises that arm wrestlers use that any one of you can do as well, regardless of the sport you practice. If you have any questions, write it down in the comment section below. I will give away two different arm wrestling handles, the wrist wrench and the opti wrench. All you have to do is to go down to the video description and to enter the giveaway with the link presented. I will close the applications today, so don't think twice and enter it right now. With that being said, keep your eyes on this channel. Great stuff is coming.